Guess what? Fable 5 is back. Hello and welcome to another Solana tutorial. Today we're gonna do Fable 5 versus Opus because we can use Fable again. Apparently, it's safe enough for general public again, so we can play around with Fable again. I'm a little bit excited. But also, we saw in one of the previous videos that Opus is pretty decent for Solana development, but today we're gonna find out how decent, because just because I didn't find any bugs doesn't mean there aren't any. And so today I'm gonna have Fable analyze what Opus produced last time. And then while we're at it, might as well talk about Solana auditing skills for your agents. Because that's essentially what we're doing today. Just that we're gonna do it with Fable. Yeah, so basically we have 7 days now again, or like 6 more, where Fable is available for a subscription plan, like the one that I have. And afterwards, you'll need to spend API credits to use Fable. And so the question is, does it make sense? Or when does it make sense to spend those credits for Fable when you could be using Opus 4.8 or in some cases even Sonnet 5 for your tasks? So I hope we're gonna get closer to the answer to this question in today's video. Let's get started playing with Fable again. Claude AI, back at it. And look at this. We can select Fable again until July 7th. We can use 50% of our credits on that. So they have a separate tracker for Fable now. And basically half of my weekly allocation I can use on Fable. Anyway, I've got an entire session ahead of me and I haven't used Fable yet. So let's start using Fable. But we're not gonna just chat with it. We are gonna vibe code. Proper Claude code, full integration. I'm just gonna recycle the Opus sandbox from last time. So remember in one of the previous videos, we create this dev container such that Opus can write us a coin flip program. Let me just wait for it to open. There we go. It even updated Visual Studio in here, whatever. Okay, so that was the program that we built last time, an anchor program, and we used Opus 4.8 to do it. Fable 5 is currently unavailable. Oh no, maybe that's not up to date. I'm pretty sure that it is available though. Let's start a new session. And look, it is available again. Hello, Fable. I've missed you. Welcome back. Okay, so let's go plan mode. And I basically just wanted to analyze this program and find bugs, right? That's all I want. Please do a security audit of the given Solana program. And actually, I've read that Fable, you should just prompt with something like short and what you want, and then it will come up with how it's doing that by itself, because it's good at coming up with how it does things. Opus and Sonnet, the other models, you have to explicitly tell what they should do exactly. But I think Fable, at least what I've heard, I haven't verified this, but what I've heard, Fable is doing better if you just give it the overall task. So maybe we start with that. Just this simple prompt of please do a security audit of the given Solana program and let Fable figure it out itself. Why not? Let's see. It seemed to work with Fable 5. It does count towards my current session because the timer has started and it is doing something. I'll audit the coin flip anchor program. I'll do a read-only review of the code, present findings and the recommendation plan. Yeah, I don't want it to change stuff. I just want you to analyze. And then I might let it do the same thing on something that it produced earlier, just in case it's like, yeah, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Then I might let it do it on its own program as well. So step 1 of what it's doing is it's reading the program, obviously, like all of the program and also the readme. It's not a big program either, but now it's got to do the thinking. Oh, what did we set for thinking mode? We are on extra high effort, so that should be good. Thinking is on, we're on extra high effort, so yeah. We could even go on max or ultra code, but no. Extra high should be fine for this, I think. And now it's just me bathing my feet in cold water and waiting for this to stop philosophizing and come up with results. Maybe it says this is clean and this is perfect, then we know that, hey, Opus is fine for creating a Solana program. I mean, Opus is fine because with all of the models, even with Fable, you want to also do a proper audit by humans if it's really something that you're going to use in production. But, you know, for playing around, and this is educational purposes, right? Educational and entertainment purposes, not financial advice and not whatever other advice I could give you. I will not be saying that you should just trust Fable to write secure Solana programs. That's not my point here. My point here is trying to figure out how much better Fable is in comparison to Opus. That's what we're doing here. And then roughly compare that to how much effort I as a single human would have to put in to get to similar results, which is probably a lot. Oh yeah. It's doing something, it's thinking, and it's eating my credits, so that's perfect. Means that it's working. Cool. We're writing... Oh, please do a security mighty harbor. It's writing a findings and remediation plan. Okay. So it probably found something. Now, to preface this, I didn't tell it to make exceptions for the known assumptions that we have. Known assumptions that we have are, in case you haven't watched the video, that previous video, that it's okay that a leader can influence the deciding slot and that we don't really have strong randomness. We know that. If it just tells me that, then I'm like, yeah, Opus warned us about that as well. Okay, so it came up with a plan to review. The user asked for a security audit. The program is a commit, reveal, coin flip. So it analyzed the program. That's good. The audit itself is complete. Findings below. The plan covers the code fixes to apply if approved. Okay, so and now it wants me to approve those. Well, let's first look at the findings. Again, I don't need to fix this program. I'm never going to use this program, but I just want to see what it comes up with. So the fundamentals are solid. Commit reveal correctly defeats, simulate and submit, and the solvency invariant holds across all instructions. That's great. Payout redirection is blocked by has one player, and the PDAs and sysvars are seeds or addresses checked. So you can't mess with those addresses. The issues found are in the trust model around the authority and deployment, not in fund safety for the happy path. Okay, so doesn't seem so bad actually. Findings. Number 1, high. The win threshold read at settle time. The authority can rock open bets. That's true. And again, my security audit was me looking at the program for half an hour and then being like, yeah, that seems solid. But having Claude look at it for, what was that, 10 minutes, if at all, came up with a lot more. So if we would put that into perspective of how many hours I would have to put in to come up with the same result, it's probably, I don't know, it's probably a day's work, rough estimate. So yeah, I think I'll stay with my point. Using those AI models for enhancing what you are doing is probably the best approach. Just letting AI do it is not the right strategy. And just relying on your own brain to do stuff is just not as efficient. So I think the sweet spot is in the middle, where you and the AI work together. Anyway, so the finding here is that the authority of the program, so the one that initialized it, could theoretically change the win threshold after a bet was already placed, because there's no lower bound for the win threshold, turning every open bet into a guaranteed loss. Yeah. That's how the authority could rock the players. And that's not how I analyzed it, right? Because I came at it from the perspective of a hacker. If I don't have the authority, how can I exploit the program? And there I didn't find anything interesting. But yeah, that is indeed an issue. How do you suggest to fix this? Locking in the win threshold at the bet placement, maybe? So it has an easy fix. And again, it depends on what assumptions you're working with. If we know we are the authority, but still, for the sake of the players, it would still be better to implement it in a way where we can't even do that. So yeah, certainly a thing, yeah. Then there's one medium. Initialize can be front run. Yes, I mentioned that in the previous video as well, because only one authority can be set. You can call initialize just once because it just has a regular init, and that sets the authority. So whoever first does it claims the authority for the entire program. And I was aware of that, and I was just taking it. I was like, yeah, okay, we just gotta initialize it first and only then publish the program or whatever. But an attacker who fronts runs the deployer owns the admin, yeah. Then we have another one that is documented already. a leader can grind the deciding block hash that we knew about and it was documented. So it's like, okay, accepted residual risk of the current design. And then we have a few low. Decide delay has no upper bound. A huge decide delay can lock the player's funds essentially forever until expired. So you can set it in a way where the deciding slot is past the expiry time and therefore the player can never win. But again, that's the admin would need to set it like that. And if the admin sets it like that, again, what's the assumptions? But it's true, there's no upper bound on that. It's just unfair if it's set in a way that is unfair to the player. Then another one, a strictly serialized bet ID enable griefing and racing. Interesting, what's that? The seeds are bet and bet ID, with bet ID being the bet counter, and concurrent players race for the same ID. The loser's transaction fails. That's true, and that's just not a good design. Funds are still safe, but it's a denial of service attack that you can do here, where you basically front run every bet, and then the user who wants to place the bet can't place it, so denial of service. Again, it's a low risk thing, but yeah, that should indeed be fixed. And then there's some informational stuff. Move Lamperts reuses the math overflow for insufficient balance, which is a misleading error. That's just not good program design, like not good code writing, something that they missed. And there's no authority transfer instruction. A compromised authority key can't be rotated. That's also not good. Again, an assumption that we make, but yeah, not being able to change the authority, maybe not ideal. But I didn't ask Opus to implement that as well. And it's just the first draft of the program. So it's like, if I wanted that, I could have decided that we need that. Because guess what? When I let Fable create that program, then it also didn't do that. At least I think. Did it? We'll see. The expired bet forfeit is correct. A refund on expiry would let losers stall for a push, but makes a running reliable settle crank an operational security requirement. So what it's meaning here is we, as the program operator, need to ensure that expired bets get settled. So either we settle all of the bets with a crank directly at the decision slot, or if we have a design where we let the user do that, then we still need to make sure that we run the crank if the bet expired, because otherwise that money never comes back to our treasury. Whereas with Fable's design, the money would go directly to the treasury in the first place. So we wouldn't need to have that. So we don't have that operational security requirement. That's okay. And then it even notes the modulo 100 has a bias, but it's 10 to the minus 18, so it's negligible. However, only because we're using U64s, Sonnet, who used just one byte, there that error was not negligible, and that actually caused an issue. I mean, watch the video on when I first let Claude build that with a weak model, then it just made many mistakes. Yeah, and then it came up with a plan how to fix all of those, snapshot the odds at the commit, and maybe even add a floor for the win threshold. We could bind the init to the upgrade authority of the program. That's a smart move. Yeah, then only the program authority can be the authority of the treasury as well. That's pretty decent. This is just a refactoring for the correct error, and for the delay it would just set a cap such that 300 slots, because at 500 slots is the expiry window, so about 300 would be the max that it would allow. That's decent. Yeah, that's it's good analysis. No real massive bugs or security issues, but things to improve. And that cost me 11% of a session. That's okay. But now I'm interested, if I let it analyze what it built with Fable. I misspelled Fable. It should be LE, not EL. There was the same program that, or at least the same prompt, but executed by Fable. So yeah, let's switch model to Fable. Also put effort to extra high, go to planning mode, and then say the same thing that we said here. Please do a security audit of the given Solana program. Boom. And let's see if that looks more promising or like more thought out, just so we have something to compare. And then I might do the same thing on the program that we developed with Sonnet, because that's messy. Again, it's reading all of the files. Unsupported content type fallback. What's that? Vibing. Let's go. I'm a little hot. And so is my computer. Because it's got 35 degrees in here. Because I don't have AC in here. Welcome to Europe. Noodling. It's been noodling around for a bit now. That's, I think, 7 minutes. I put it on extra high effort, so I'm hoping that it's doing something. We'll see. It will come up with a plan. There you go. Thinking. Ooh. Oh. Fable 5 safety measures flag this message for cybersecurity or biology topics. This may be flag safe normal content as well. This measures lets us bring Mythos level capability in other areas sooner. And we're working to refine them. Switch to Opus 4.8. Send feedback with feedback. Oh no, we hit that thing where it thinks that we're doing something evil even though we're not. I'm just hot. Oh, that makes me lose my hair. Oh. Okay, well that's kind of pointless then, because now the comparison is unfair, because now we're analyzing Fable with Opus. But there seems to have been a difference in that anyway, because that didn't happen when we did the same prompt for the program that Opus developed. Aha. So either that means we were just unlucky and it was like a 50-50 chance, and in one instance we did get flagged and in the other one we didn't get flagged. Or maybe it is because that program was actually worse from a security perspective, such that when Claude analyzed it, it was like, yeah, fine. This is just the user actually debugging a stupid program. But when it had to analyze something that was solid, then it was like, oh, maybe the user is doing something malicious. And then I got flagged and set back to Opus. Okay. So there was a difference. Does that mean that that program is so much better? I don't know. It could also be that maybe it's got similar. But let's see what it found. And then we keep discussing. So what do we have here? So we analyze the conflict program again. What is solid? The solvency invariance. That was the same with the other thing. No double settlement or repay. Account substitution is prevented. Permissionless settlement. Check the arithmetic. Yeah. Okay. Good. Findings. Slot hash randomness is grindable by the target slot leader. But we knew this. It flagged it as high. The other one flagged it as medium and documented this one. So yeah, just because it didn't find anything else that is high. Initialize has no authority binding. Admin can be front round. The point here is though, also Fable made that mistake or that design decision. And Opus even understood that. Or maybe Fable prepared that report and then only Opus finalized it or something. I don't know. Anyway, what did that cost me? That was 24%. So this one actually took me a bit more than the previous analysis because it had to go to Opus and then redo it. Pin the admin. The simplest is with a compile time constraint or binding the program's update authority. So it even gives me two choices here. Fable likes to make decisions. That's the difference between Opus and Fable. Fable likes to make decisions, I think. And we saw that also previously, where Fable was like, yeah, we take two. And Opus was like, it can be configured by the admin user. Just massive difference from the design, from the ethos, right? Fable likes to make decisions. We also see that in this report. Fable is like, to fix this, bind it to the upgrade authority. That's what it says. That's the best fix that it came up with, and it decided that's what we do. If I want something else, then I need to tell it, hey, actually I want something else. What are the possibilities? Let's do that. I want something else for fix M1. What are the possibilities? And then I'm sure it will come up with something useful. Probably the same thing that the other one said, that I can pin it down to a fixed address. There we go. It even gives me 3 choices. Either the upgrade authority gated init that we had so far, a hard-coded admin pub key, initialize only accepts that as a signer, or an admin recovery instruction. Init stays permissionless, but the upgrade authority can overwrite the config authority anytime. And then squatting becomes pointless. So that's basically the same as this, just that it doesn't pin it to the init, but lets me overwrite the admin, which comes with other issues, I think. So I would actually prefer the upgrade authority gated init over this solution. But the point is, it came up with this as well, what Opus also suggested, that I can pin a pub key. And Opus actually went for the simplest one, right? hey, here's the simplest solution. You can just do that to fix it. But my point is, Fable likes to make decisions, and it just provided me with one option and not with, hey, or you do that other thing. So we see, and that's also cool, just seeing, the differences, because that's relevant for knowing when to use Fable and when to use Opus. Opus is good for you know exactly what you want, you can write it down and give it to Opus. Fable is better for, oh, you have a vague idea of this bigger thing and want Fable to make the decisions. Because that's what Fable is good for, making the decision. Opus is more of a, let me execute the things that you give me and do it well. But Fable is a decision factory, really. That's how I see it, at least. But that also means that you have to change how you prompt. Because if you give Fable too many decisions yourself, then it's like locked down and then it won't perform as well. Assumption. I don't actually know. But it's what I heard. So yeah, anyway, back to the security audit. It's not actually an audit, it's just a readme by an LLM. Don't compare this to actual audits, kids. Skip target slot silently forever on its bed. Yeah. On slot hash not found, fall back to the nearest produced slot. Actually, didn't Opus implement that better? Because with the Opus audit, we didn't find this issue. So maybe their Opus even did a better job just taking the next one. Should we look at implementation? Slot hash is find slot hash and that with that target slot. So yeah, it encodes the target slot, whereas the Opus program, how did you do this? Slot hashes, the decide slot. And yeah, here, look, it works with indexes. It reads the slot until it's bigger than the decide slot. So actually, in this case, Opus implemented that better than Fable did in the first try. So yeah, point is, it's not clearly just that model is better, always use this one. No. And there's also a thing of chance, of course. You can be lucky with whatever decisions it makes and whatever. Point is, in at least one aspect, the Opus program was better than the Fable one. So this one. But that's just a low severity issue. Anyway, capital lookup griefing on betting capacity. An attacker with capital can place bets up to the treasurer's free capacity, driving the available to 0. Yeah, okay, but that's also the same for the other one. Okay. The modulo bias, that's informational. Yes, we do have that bias. We also had that in the other one. But it's negligible, we said, right? Again, we have a probability by a factor of 10 to the minus 18, so we can ignore that. And then it also provides fixes for all of that. Yeah. Okay, so actually the security audit doesn't seem worse than the one Fable made for the other program, but then also maybe just Opus isn't as good at it. Who knows? But that brings us to a different topic. Well, same topic. But while we're here doing security audits with our agents, there are skills out there, Solana Auditor skills. That's something I found, but it's not got any official references, and I don't think this will actually help me much. 105 attack vectors tuned for Solana program security. Sets up several agents. Not sure if I want to have a look at this. There's so many things. We have Solana security skills marketplace, Solana audit skill. This is for humans. I did it. And then the general agent skills from Solana. We know that. But that's for dev. That's dev skills mainly. Also has a security section. But I don't think the security section of this will actually make it any better. But we still have the credits to look at it. So let's see what changes. Install that skill and check if that changes anything in the audit. Let's see if it can just do it itself. I would assume that it does, because while I have an agent running, I don't need to do skill installing myself, right? Yeah, it's cloning the dev skills, it's running the install script. Easy. I'll do that directly to avoid the interactive prompt. Yeah. Such that it doesn't need to ask me that it can do that. It's just doing it better, because Fable likes to make decisions. I can do better than going through an interactive prompt with the user. I love it. Great, and now it's reading the security MD and the skill MD. That's the interesting parts. And then it will probably tell me, nothing changes. But at least we will have tried. We're vibing some more, booping some more, thinking some more. Click to expand. So it's adding something. Cross-check against Solana dev skills security checklist. So seems like it just says that it's checking some things, but none of them are exploitable. So seems good. And now it's asking me questions again. Should L2 be fixed? Install Solana MCP server, the skill recommends. Yeah, install it. So I told it to install the MCP server because the skills reference that. We once made a video about that, so here you go. Approach confirmed by user. Yeah, because I said, yeah, just do it like that, whatever. Good. So, final report. Probably nothing changed. Nothing changed. We just used the skill with no new vulnerabilities. But it did check all of those things. Okay, I'm good with that. Cool. Okay, so that skill wasn't helpful. And I'm pretty sure that Claude already found all of the issues. But just because, I want to have a look at those other skills that I found. Do any of those help to find more vulnerabilities? And now I'm just testing some random Solana Audit skills that I found on the internet. Maybe they're helpful, possibly they're not. But if one of them finds something that Fable hasn't found by itself, then it's worth pointing it out. So that's why I'm running this now. It's cloning those skills. Again, I'm in a sandbox. I feel pretty secure that I can just run this here. It can't really destroy much, he thought, but he's also working with Fable, the strongest model yet. No! This model has safety measures that flagged something in this session. We again been put back to Opus. Oh no. Oh no. We're losing Fable again. Oh no. I mean, yeah, it's great for security audits, but also great for program exploitation, which is basically the same thing. White hat, black hat. Where's the difference? The head color, not the tools. So yeah, that's why we got flagged again. And now we also got back to Opus. Okay. But the skills is what we're analyzing here, not Fable, the model. So Opus will be fine. We noted that Opus is decent, especially if we give it concrete directions with the skills. Those are made for Opus, right? Because it's like clear directives on what to do. Opus can follow those instructions. So I'm fine with switching back to Opus. The DOS liveness lens plus outcome is publicly computable before settling. Points are something I underweight. The two real audit skills paid off. Applying their DOS liveness and MEV ordering lenses. Nice! Look at that. Surfaced a sharper finding I had understated. Great. Let me record the new findings and update the plan. Did the skills find more vulnerabilities? Partly. One of them did. This one, no. It's a testing workflow skill. There's no Solana audit. Okay, dead end. Fine. This one, no new bugs. Vulnerability patterns is a standard C-level attacks list. Every item already covered by the program or not available. Good confirmation, nothing new. And then this one apparently, yes, one sharper finding with this one. Great. Because a bet's outcome is deterministic and publicly computable, the instant decide slot is produced. A house running the settle crank can compute results and deliberately withhold settlement of winning bets. So if the house can basically make bets lose, or artificially expire and therefore you lose. I still don't understand how, but let's look at that, because we're here to learn. Strictly profitable, 2x stake, swing per grieved win. Settlement is permissionless, stalling in a loss. It stops a losing player from stalling, but not the house from stalling on a winner. Oh right, but that's just, okay, hold on. A fire and forget better who relies on the house crank is exposed. This supersedes the which understated it. And also pretty cool, I vetted all three by reading their files rather than their npm install scripts. Great practice, I love it. And added M5 and a mitigation. A crank tip that pays any third party to settle every bet promptly. Nice. Decoupling payouts from the house goodwill. That's a strategy, but that's also nothing. I mean, we knew that the user will have to crank manually if the house doesn't do it for him. So it's not a high vulnerability. And also that's the same with the other program that Fable implemented. It has the same design. So basically what it's saying here, in the plan, it underestimated M3. So this thing, it added this thing. So what earlier was just the informational, a refund on expiry would let users stall for a push. But there's a bigger issue with that, the residual liveness fairness exposure. And that's now captured in M3, which it neatly ordered between M1 and M2. Well done, Opus. Surfaced by cross-checking against the audit skills, DOS liveness, and MEV ordering lenses. The settle outcome is deterministic and publicly computable. Yes, because anyone can read the slot hashes and compute that. So what you're saying is that the treasury can compute if it's a winning or a failing bet? Yeah, or it just simulates the transaction and it also knows if the funds go to the treasury or to the player. So what is it that you that you misunderstood here? Settlement is permissionless but not guaranteed. Yeah, a house running the settle crank can compute the pending bet and then yeah, but you can't block it and then withhold the settlement. Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I guess we knew that. At least I had it in my mind that that was an issue. So yeah, it can just take the win if the player doesn't settle themselves. And how you suggest that we fix this M3 here is by incentivizing prompt settlement. Put a cranker tip such that randos have an incentive to settle the bet because they get a tip. So why wouldn't you run that? And then the house doesn't have to run the crank themselves and the user gets their bet. But it's the same. If nobody knows about that, if it's not a popular enough program, you run into the same issues. So it doesn't really fix anything. And document prominently that bettors should either self-settle or rely on an independent crank, not the house. Yeah, fair enough. So from a player's perspective, this could be an issue. From a we are the house perspective, this is not an issue at all because we run the crank and we are fair, right? It's fine. So it's not a big issue that we found here with this, but it's interesting that it decided, hey, this is a bigger deal than we thought before, just because it read it in that skill. So that skill seems to be useful. But wait, let me actually ask one more question. So what exactly did you not understand before and how did that skill help? Explain in simple terms. Let's go. While we're just using Opus anyway. So, plain language. What you already knew. The program has a rule that a bet must be settled. Yeah. If nobody settles in time, the escrow gets the money. The escrowed money goes to the house. Yeah. My note basically said, make sure someone runs the settlement bot reliably. I treated it as an operational chore, not an attack. But then what it didn't put together without that skill, 3 separate facts I already knew but hadn't connected. Ha ha ha! Yeah, that's always those things. And again, this is Opus speaking. But then again, Fable also didn't flag that before. Or maybe Fable just thought it's not a big deal and Opus is now like with that skill, oh, it's actually a big deal. I don't know. I'm losing all my hair. Once the deciding slot exists, anyone can calculate whether a bet won or lost before actually settling it. So we knew that as well. If a bet is never settled in time, the money goes to the house. We also knew that. And the house is running the settlement bot in practice. Yeah, we also knew that. Chain those together and it stops being housekeeping and becomes a way for the house to cheat. So that it didn't really get. The house can look at every pending bet and analyze. Yeah, okay. And how the skill helped, the audit skill organizes bugs into categories, and 2 of them made me reread the expiry rule with a different question in mind. A denial of service, griefing. Treat it as a real security issue, not a footnote. If one party can block someone else's payout or claim. And ordering outcome known in advance category that says watch for cases where someone can see the result before they have to act on it. Yeah, cool. So that skill helped. It helped the agent to understand that the house can be malicious and be like, well, I'm better off leaving that bet alone to have the money myself, which is something that implicitly I had in my head, but I didn't think of it being an issue because when I was thinking of how to exploit it, I looked at it from a hacker who is not the house. But of course, if you're doing a security audit, you need to analyze all of the sites. What if the house is malicious? Obviously, we need to analyze that too. But this is not an Opus versus Fable issue here because Fable made the exact same choice. In fact, I'm getting so lazy. I'm not even gonna scroll up to find that same link. I'm just gonna, hey, you give it to me, please. It's the Prec Solana Audit skill. This is a third-party skill, so it's guidance and checklist, not a guarantee. Obviously, none of this is guaranteed. But while we're here, can you use this skill to see if you find any more issues? Let's also analyze the program that Fable wrote with Opus and that skill, because theoretically it should come up with the same thing, because it also didn't flag that the house could attack or the house could just not settle in this plan. Let's see. Skills loader. List all skills. And now it reads all the skills that it thinks it needs, all the skill files. really. The whole bundle is called the skill, the Solana Audit skill. Curious if it comes up with the same thing. Run the full checklist, confirms my original audit, and adds evidence mapped framing plus 1 refinement. So wait, what exactly did we change now? Skill confirmed my original findings and did not surface a new high critical bug, new or refined beyond grinding block concerns, a house operating validator that leads the target slot and sees it would lose could skip producing that slot. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's only possible in this program, not in the other one, because the other one doesn't have that problem with the exact slot. So it's cool that it found that one. But interestingly, it then didn't find the thing with the house not doing the crank. Interesting. But that's so interesting. But also that program definitely relies on cranks for the settlement of the bet. So it's not different. So we see there's a kind of this chance of when my agent flags it like it did here, or when it doesn't flag it like it did here. So there, there's always chance, and there's always the mood of the agents and the alignment of the stars or whatever. So it's never a 100% this. And also maybe this is just a false positive. In a way it is, because we kind of knew that and we just accepted it. And maybe here we just accepted it, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Let me do one more thing here again. I will add a new session and use Fable 5 and tell it once again, use this skill to analyze the program for security issues. And we once again go to plan mode. And once again, it would most likely not use Fable anymore, but put me back to Opus. But I'll give it one more try just for fun. The user wants me to install and run Solana Audit skill. Fetch the skill prompt without installing. So Fable is also doing it like that it doesn't just install, but that it actually looks at the skill. And there we have it. And we are again down to Opus. Oh well, but that's okay. Attack surface mapping. As soon as we have attack surface mapping, we're like, okay, bye Fable. Now let me read the actual program source before playing the audit. But good, now the program reading doesn't cost me Fable credits. That's also fine. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they don't allow us to do these things with Fable. It's just too powerful. But not on a simple program like this. This would be clearly a false positive. This is clearly a false positive, but they got it. They added this safety margin just so they can safely release Fable 5 again. They just, have a bigger margin now, and that's why we get quicker downgraded to Opus when we do security analysis, which, fair enough. But if you're using Fable for building, then you should be able to just use it. I'll let that run through one last time, and then I think I'm gonna call it a day. It's been enough for one video. 50%, it's okay. Okay, write the full program. It's an anchor program. Scope. I've completed the full read-only review of the program. One decision generator changes what I deliver. What do you want, just the audit, or want me to implement fixes? Report only. And randomness, how should I treat the validator slot hash randomness weakness? Flag as headline finding, except as known trade-off. We know this. Let's go. Okay, I've completed the audit and written the full report to the plan file. Where's the plan file? Findings themselves are below. Okay, so summary. No high severity, directly trainable bugs. We again have the initialized permissionless. Oh, that's new. Correct today, but one slot from breaking. A boundary shift would make a winning bet at the window's end unsettleable. Right, but then it expires anyway. So that's not a big deal. A winner whose settled bet lands one slot late can be permissionlessly expired and lose payout. The choice is cosmetic. Yeah, we know that. Metrics are not exploitable, but surprising for a provably fair framing. Yeah, and then it also comes up with that fix. So, yeah. It found even fewer things now, though. Let me just quickly look at that plan. Preview this. Open preview. Yeah, so basically just this one. Near-time common pitfalls. Sea-level attack. So it did use that skill to find that, but it also found that without the skill. So in this case, I don't think the skill helped us much. But that's okay. I'm still gonna recommend it, because in that one instance, that skill was helpful. This Solana Audit skill. I'm gonna link it down below. Again, use at your own risk. This is nothing official as far as I can tell. Software engineer at RHChat. But member of Super Team KZ. Kazakhstan has a super team? That's amazing. Great. Yeah, so not saying you should trust this, but it could prove helpful. Audit discipline, it's well structured. I actually like it. Yeah, I'm not going to overanalyze this, but I'm just telling you this exists and many more. Use the ones that you find helpful. Today I found this one helpful, so I shall paste that in the description below. And with that, I think we're going to end it here. What did we learn today? Well, first of all, that Opus and Fable are not that far apart in terms of Solana development. If I gave them that prompt to write me that program, they were pretty solid, both of them. Fable was faster, struggled less, but Opus also got it to work. Now, when it comes to auditing, I think Fable is better at that, but it also gets blocked more likely, just because they had to put the safety margin so high, and auditing is something that is similar to hacking, and therefore you might get flagged as a false positive or as a true positive if you're actually using it. Don't do that. Don't try to hack other people's programs with Fable. So in that way, it's good that it doesn't allow you to do that. Anyhow, one big difference that we actually saw is Fable likes to make decisions where Opus and Sonnet don't. They operate on what you give them, and Fable really likes to make decisions itself. It's like, hey, I'm just gonna choose this because I think that's the best choice. And the others will prompt the user or be like, those are the possibilities. That's something I noted twice now, so I thought I'd mention it. Also, we looked at auditing skills. Some are useful, some are not. I didn't do a big enough test to really figure out if those skills add a lot. But we saw in our little demo today that we were able to at least raise the severity of one bug that we found because we could put things together due to the skill that before we didn't have that combined understanding. So that's cool, I guess. Great. And with that, I shall leave you. Fable 5 is back. I'm still so excited about that. We have 5 more days to actually play with Fable within our subscriptions. Then you'll have to pay credits for it. And sometimes it's gonna be worth it. And sometimes it won't be. But the good news is, for most things, actually Opus should be fine. For the small things, Sonnet is fine. For the bigger projects, Opus is fine. Just for the real big things where like create me an entire project with website and everything, you probably want to pay for Fable credits there. But my current recommendation is use Opus unless you do something that is so complicated that you need Fable. That's how I'm gonna do it, because otherwise I'm gonna really spend all of my money on Fable. And I want to refrain from doing that. So yeah, that's the recommendation I give myself. You can of course do whatever you want. I'm still not your mom. But I am that weird guy on the internet that makes YouTube videos about Solana development. Here's some more of those. Like this one if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't done that already. And then I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye bye.